Hello, everybody, and welcome to Uber's Cinco, the podcast where we deep dive top fives. I'm Nathan Hennenfent, your host for today, and in the den with me is Brian, Ernst, and Mitch Brinkman. Today, our contestants will reveal and defend their top 5 movies with a score of less than 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. Brian, Mitch, welcome. How you boys doing?
Oh, good. Pretty good there.
Oh, yeah. Good. Just spent a whole bunch of days finding out how bad my movie taste is, and I had a great time. So,
Brian, I know you were doing an accent there, but Mitch, isn't that just like your regular voice?
Yeah. I actually, if I call my mother and I don't use that voice, she can't understand me. So, if I don't mention the word rhubarb in the first 20 words, she hangs up. So,
you're no son of mine.
Yeah.
All right. If this is your first time in the Uber Cinco den, let's wake you out of hibernation with a quick rundown of the rules. Each player in the den has spent time with today's topic arranging their top 5 answers in order of importance. Those answers have been submitted to the host who will moderate the game, awarding points to the player with the most poignant answer.
Starting with their number 5 choice, we'll move up the ranks until we reach each of their top answers. But if both contestants happen to have the same answer on their list, well, we have an Uber stare-down.
You will hear the official Uber Cinco siren, and both players must reveal their answer and what number they ranked their submission. An Uber stare-down is all or nothing, with one player earning 3 points. After all answers have been read, the host will reveal the final score.
And as the host, I am, of course, entitled to put in place a house rule. Should either contestant violate the house rule, they will be severely penalized, so pay close attention. As usual, I'm implementing a golden rule from the old Hennenfent family farmhouse. I remember standing with dear old granddad at the edge of the North 40 on a moonlit summer's eve, thousands of fireflies rising out over the vast soybean fields in a luminous ballet. The great horned owl perched in a crabapple tree, hooting his mournful cry to signal the end of a day, and the screech of a polecat with his tail caught in the drainage ditch. Granddad would emit a weary sigh and say, "Nathan, I'm a fair man and a just man, and even a tall man. But as long as you live under this roof, you must abide these words. If there's no eggs in the coop by 10:15, you've got yourself a rooster. That ain't no hen." All right, and as a quick reminder, don't forget to stick with us till the end of the show, where I, Nathan Hennenfent, will give you my Fast 5 send-off, while I will rattle off the definitive list of the top 5 cars of all time.
Vroom, vroom.
All right, without further ado,
Chevy.
let us get into it with our number 5s, and I am going to go with Brian. Your number 5, please. Movie with a score of under 20% on Rotten Tomatoes.
All right. So my approach here, my list is not in order of favorites. I've gone from highest in the 20% bracket to the lowest. So,
Brian, I just want to say now, if there is an Uber stare down here, you know,
Yes.
we both have the same movie on the list. You're going to have to tell us where it ranks, you know, because you have to defend how good this bad movie is.
Oh,
all right. I just want to put that out there. So
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Oh, I am. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm competitive about how bad my taste is. Let's go. All right. Sorry. Continue.
Same here. So, and like I said, I mentioned to you guys off mic before that I found a lot of movies that were under 20% that I quite enjoy. I believe 28 films rounded out my list that I did knock down to 5 here. So my number 5, coming in at 19% with critics, 53% with the audience, is The Identity Thief from 2013, starring Jason Bateman and Melissa McCarthy. So this movie is directed by Seth Gordon, who's also done Horrible Bosses, and also one of the best documentaries of all time, The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, which is about the two guys going towards the highest score in Donkey Kong. This is also written by Craig Mazin, who wrote Chernobyl, the HBO miniseries, and has a respectable box office of $134.4 million. I believe that's coming off. This is Melissa McCarthy's first leading role following Bridesmaids. So I got a feeling that was a big lead for that.
Well, also, I mean, Grown Ups 2 made, I think, $8.7 billion worldwide. So,
Yes.
you know, it doesn't always connect. But.
No. The bar is low. It's just, you'll see some of these other staggering numbers we'll talk about later. It's pretty interesting. So the reason I put this on the list, it's got two of my favorite performers. I love Jason Bateman. I love Melissa McCarthy separately. And when they came together, I like that. So especially seeing anytime Jason Bateman's the straight man in anything, I'm there. I also like this movie because although it's billed strictly as a comedy, there actually sort of is a heartwarming take towards the end. Although McCarthy is the annoying, just kind of blatantly law-breaking person, there actually kind of is a lesson in the end there. And they're both actually just great actors. So there's actually a little bit of emotion towards the end. What's
the lesson that this bad movie teaches you?
That if you steal stuff, you go to jail, which is actually not usually doesn't happen in these kinds of comedies. So, and it's basically because she's actually has a sad backstory. But other than that, so again, the annoying, shitty character learns a lesson. And then, but this wouldn't be a 20% or less Rotten Tomato movie if there weren't some pretty hilarious reviews. So one of my favorite reviews I found was from Wesley Morris at the now defunct Grantland. The laughs don't stem from wit or setups, but from phony rage and cheap slapstick. And that's exactly why I like the movie.
I have to say, I do not remember this movie existing, and it's got two pretty big stars in it. And I'm reading this synopsis, and I'm about to fall asleep just reading this. How did this? How did this happen?
It's a very, very simple plot. She obviously steals his identity. He goes after her because the main plot point is the cops aren't going to do anything because he lives in Denver. His identity was stolen in Florida. The cops won't do anything because it's out of their jurisdiction. So he has to go to Florida and solve it himself. Because, you know, that's the way vigilantism is great in this day and age.
Well, and also we learned from the Ted Bundy doc, cops don't call each other or email across state lines. So
there it is.
Yep.
So in doing my research here, I found probably what is the greatest website of all time for this. It is called commonsensemedia.org. And every single movie on their lists has what parents need to know for every single movie. It's kind of like the Rotten Tomatoes for this. So what parents need to know about The Identity Thief. Expect lots of innuendos and plenty of swearing, including fuck and shit, plus some racist jokes, drinking, wine and hard liquor, and product placement.
Oh no.
Parents need to know about this product placement. That was their last warning on their list.
Well, if a young child sees a devilish, sinful Hollywood star enjoying, you know, Ruffles sour cream and cheddar baked, they might go down the wrong path, you know, and you want to avoid that.
Yep.
Now, okay, I remember I saw this movie, I think, in a theater, but it was during a double or triple feature. Thank you, AMC, for having lax ticket checking policies. And I remember I kind of forgot about it like a couple days later, but I remember thinking they needed more of this script. I mean, you know, I feel like big Hollywood comedies nowadays, it's always, you got to have a little action. It's always a road movie, right? Mm-hmm. That's the only thing they want to make for whatever reason. But it felt like they just said, let's just put these two in a car and like they have to fill in the rest. Right.
And to be honest, the moments of them in the car are the worst parts of the movie. It's anytime they're out of the car that movie actually gets kind of interesting. And one of its biggest criticisms is that they lean too heavily on the fat jokes. That's pretty much all they do. Same criticism they gave like King of Queens for a long time. And same thing for Mike and Molly for a long time.
Which also King of Queens is on tonight at 9:30 on WCIU, your local affiliate.
I did see that advertised on the side of a bus as I was getting my mail this morning. So
you lucky bastard. I love seeing
reminded
those.
Me, I still would have got there. But
great.
This movie sounds to me like it sounds like somebody was like they'd already signed on these two the two actors, and then somebody had like just lost the script, and so they had to scribble some ideas down on a cocktail napkin into the bar really quickly. And they walked in, they're like, "Yep, here we go," and then they were just trapped into making this movie. Nobody actually wanted to. It was just a big series of lies that got out of hand. And I'm not convinced this is one I want to spend my time on.
Well, if you enjoy Jason Bateman as a straight man and you enjoy Melissa McCarthy performing physical comedy, a lot of fall downs, a lot of good stuff like that. If you're a fail video fan, you will enjoy this movie. Which is not a
I do love seeing people I admire get physically injured. It is.
Yes. So
also, Brian, thank you for finally being truthful and outing yourself as a fail army soldier. So,
of course I am subscribed. What I look like? Throw out a shameless plug too for kids getting hurt on Instagram. If you don't follow that, please follow that.
Oh, I thought you were just saying like a general plug for like, when kids get hurt, that's the best. It's like, what kind of filth are you made out of? But no, okay, it's an Instagram account where you watch children get hurt.
I rest my case. Yes.
On that heartwarming note, Mitch, why don't you talk us through your number 5 decision here?
So my number 5 is called The Layover, and it's a recent comedy. It's starring Kate Upton, who of course supermodel fame, and Alexander Daddario, who rose to fame quickly with her turn in True Detective, and she was in, I believe, Baywatch and some other movies. So 2 beautiful women are the leads of this movie. I don't know if Kate Upton's done another movie after this, because this was, it's a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then you find out who the director and the writer was. The writer is David Hornsby, a.k.a. Rickety Cricket from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So you're thinking, okay, we've got some solid comedy chops here. And the director is William H. Macy. Again, you're thinking, okay, a veteran of Hollywood productions. He's going to understand how to direct a script, put a project together. That did not happen whatsoever. And basically think about it like this. You just take the raunchiest, again, a buddy road comedy possible, and there they lean so heavily on the idea that that it's hilarious that women, 1, get drunk, 2, want to have sex, and 3 are trying to con people. It starts off, Kate Upton is trying to con some people into buying North Korean cosmetics from her that cause a horrible rash. Yeah, right? And you're like, oh, okay. She goes home and she's real sad and dejected about it. Daddario's a teacher. She's not allowed to teach to her full potential. And they're like, fuck it. Let's just get out of here. Let's go on a road trip. They meet a hot guy at a hotel. They're both trying to go for him. Best friends and roommates cause real, true bodily harm to each other by slipping each other drugs, locking another one in a disgusting bathroom at a gas station, ostensibly to leave her there to die also, which is just hilarious. I mean, what best friends don't want to kill each other in the pursuit of a love interest, of like a 1 or 2 night stand perhaps. And it's just clunky scene after clunky scene. Cal Penn shows up at one point. The hot guy is some unknown guy to me. I don't even remember his name, but he had long blonde hair. He honestly, kind of looked like, Nathan, but with like maybe an extra 30 pounds of muscle, and like some tanning juice over his body. But,
so nothing like me.
I was trying to, who knows?
In all, I look exactly like him, except for all of the ways in which he's good looking. I'll say that.
and Mitch doesn't like this movie because he's not attracted to the hot male lead.
I just, like there's no life in his eyes, and you can tell he's up to something the whole time.
Mitch needs his hunks to have light in their eyes. Always.
Yeah. Which also, if you want someone, this is going to come up later. If there's no magnetism in your eyes, then actually that's going to come up on a different episode. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead here a little bit. But magnetism in your eyes is a very important thing for a lead in a movie that people want to lust after.
So why would I want to what? Like I like that you're swinging for the fences here, going with a 0% right out of the gate.
Sure.
But what redeeming quality would be there? Because there's got to be one, or else you wouldn't have picked it. Yeah.
Okay. So. This you first have to be a person who's able to sit through a bad movie and like enjoy how bad it can be, which I know Brian may be more conducive to that than you, Nathan, but I'm putting it out there. But I'm referring to this. This is like a shock and awe, one and done. You watch it once, you're like, holy gosh, I can't believe I got that close to that a pile of poop that was on fire, and I allowed myself to smell it for that long. I got a little high. You're like, oh, I've never done something like that. That was dangerous. So it's that bad. And it just, it doesn't feel like each scene felt like a sketch. Like sketches sort of like loosely tied together by bad transitions. And in the end, they grow up and they're like, oh, we got to move out. Like we need our own spaces. We've got to mature here. And turns out one moves out, but then she just moves one apartment over down the hall. So like they're still best friends. It's so great. But my favorite part though is at the end when the hot guy they're both lusting after, it turns out he's engaged and he's trying to get to his own wedding. And so they get to his wedding and they find him acting around his actual fiance, who's a real, type A ball buster. And guess what? He's whipped. So he's screwed for the rest of his life anyway. Wow. And then they're just like, whoop, yeah, clean our hands of that guy. And then they go on with their lives.
That's like, I bet watching that you felt like I did when I saw The Sixth Sense for the first time. Just the rug was just ripped out from under me. That's what a twist.
Exactly. Also, if you watch Breaking Bad, Badger from there is in it too, as he's a rare gems dealer. So yeah.
Which is actually Adam Sandler's basis for Uncut Gems, which people didn't know that this was actually the foundation for that.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the prequel to that. So, yeah. Just a lot of like insane jobs and also part of the movie takes part in St. Louis, which I think they just got money from like visitstlouis.com because they showed like the arch and like other stuff. And they talked about specific St. Louis destinations to go and visit. So there's like, it's just a bunch of weird stuff like that. So it's on Hulu. Check it out. That's my number 5, The Layover.
Okay. All right. Well, for this round, I'm not sold that I should be watching this. It was so forgettable. I already forgot which movie we were talking about. The
Identity Thief.
Identity Thief. Yeah. So I'm not won over that I should be spending my time with that. And on the flip side, Mitch made a very compelling case with the sort of the enjoying the dumpster fire aspect of something. And Layover is clocking in at a healthy 88 minutes. So I would know, I know what I'm getting into. I know it has a shelf life of 88 minutes and I can get in and out, take a shower, feel better about myself. So Mitch, I'm going to go ahead and give you 2 points, and Brian, I'm going to give you 1 point for this round.
Hey-o!
I deserve it.
Just by the way you said Identity Thief when Nathan was searching for the title said it all.
Yeah.
Identity Thief.
I'm glad this is on the record forever.
All right, so we'll move up to number 4, and Mitch, why don't you take it away?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So this one is called That Awkward Moment, and this one is technically the Rotten Tomatoes score is 22%.
Yeah, talk about an awkward moment. You're I'm going to be deducting you a point straight off the bat here. The 3 point is no longer on the table, my friend.
What? Oh God, come on! What the fuck? Okay, well, all right, yeah, this is a little awkward, but I guess I'll soldier ahead here. I think maybe this one hit me at, I don't remember exactly when it came out, but I think it was maybe 2015, 2016. And it came on HBO Go. I watched it twice, like in the first 4 days of watching it for the first time. And then I watched it again like a week later. And I don't know what exactly the formula was. I think, it's Zac Efron and Imogen Poots. They're a pair. They're very cute. And she inspires him. She's artistic, and he's an artistic job, but he feels like his artist is dying inside, and they go to I think it's Gramercy Park in New York. It's whatever, there's like a private park somewhere that she somehow gets a key to, and they go on dates, and it's their little happy place, whatever. And it's cute. I will say it's cute. It got me. And then Miles Teller is a silly, wild bad boy who doesn't want to be tamed. Mackenzie Davis, who comes from a lot of money, like a hoity-toity Upper East Side Manhattan family. She tames him, and he learns how to connect to her family and to like say no to his tequila monster inside. So and then Michael B. Jordan is like the friend on the side who has he's very successful. And he's just, he adds like an element of cool to the movie, I guess, because he's Michael B. Jordan. He's got that magnetism. See, magnetism, that's important. And this one is like, for me, it's like a rom-com that I really enjoyed. For whatever, like in another part of my brain, when I was 18, I thought I'm going to live in New York as a 25-year-old, and I'm going to write copy, for like an ad agency. I'm going to have a cool loft in the Greenwich Village. Me and my friends are going to like, drink wine on the roof. And maybe it's like an amalgamation of like How I Met Your Mother and all these movies coming together. But for whatever reason, just got my goat when it came out, and it's fun, and the people are like, there's some talent in there, but the plot is awful. It's like you just see it from a mile away. I
have very fond memories of 18-year-old Mitch, and I can attest to everybody that if you ask 18-year-old Mitch what one of his just wildest fantasies is, writing copy would certainly be at the top of the list.
All right, I have a follow-up question. Is this the movie that has either the morning or post-coital urination scene?
Yes, where he lays down on the toilet naked, and because he's got a morning boner, and it can't go down, so
he just planks on the toilet.
He planks on the toilet, correct? Yeah.
Which I think is just the shameless excuse for us to see an almost naked Zac Efron.
Well, yeah, because he keeps it tight, he keeps it right, and he's basically a gymnast. So
yeah, I pulled up the movie poster while you were talking, and it has the most hilarious tagline, which is, "When you realize getting some means wanting more."
And that's absolutely, he can't settle down. He's addicted to the fun lifestyle, and so and Miles Teller, this is kind of Miles Teller's attempt, I think, at trying to like he's like playing it cool, he's trying to do that fun comedy thing. So
yeah,
it's not overly funny, but for whatever reason that got me. Like in the you have it up. What year did it come out?
Oh, sorry, I closed it. It's
2014. 2014.
Yeah,
2014. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this makes total sense then, because I was probably freshly single. I was probably single, spending way too much time by myself at my apartment, wanting to get back out there. That's exactly why. So that hit me at right the exact moment. So
I think that was a pretty compelling case. I mean, I would love to see this toilet planking scene. That's I think that would at least be worth the price of admission. I'm not sure physically how it would work, but I'm going to be looking it up later.
And trying it.
Maybe it's something I've already done and I've just forgotten.
It only works in like a New York movie apartment bathroom, which is like way larger than any bathroom you've ever been in New York, where like
right.
I write copy, but I got this 2,500 square foot apartment in Greenwich Village, and you're like, how the fuck are you doing?
Oh man. Okay, well, Brian, let's hear about your number 4 before I dole out the scores here. What's your number 4, Brian?
Good. My number 4 is a 2001 classic with 18% by critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 51% from the audience. That is Saving Silverman. This classic is directed by Wheaton, Illinois native Dennis Dugan, known for his being Adam Sandler's guy and having directed such great classics as Happy Gilmore and Big Daddy, but also some recent certified rotten favorites as Grown Ups 1 and 2, and I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. So,
you keep using that word classic, and I don't know if I'm agreeing.
You should agree.
Okay.
We'll call them mid-90s classics. Mid-90s comedy classic. Classics. I just got a little lisp there. Sorry, boys. This is starring Steve Zahn, Amanda Peet, Jason Biggs, and Jack Black. The reason why I have this on the list is I think I still quote this movie either at least daily or every time I hear a Neil Diamond song. Because the plot of this film is probably the most ridiculous plot of any movie I have on my list. 3 friends in a Neil Diamond cover band kidnap and fake the death of the fiance of one of the band members when they decide she's not right for him and try to set him up with a woman from his past who's training to become a nun.
Yes.
That is
it just takes wrong turn after wrong turn in that sentence.
Yeah, it does. But it's also somehow we watched this as a family. I don't know how we watched this. This was probably 2001, so I was 11. I don't know how the hell we all watched it together, but to this day, my sister or my dad still quote, "If the nachos get stuck together, that's one nacho," which is Jack Black's main motto from the movie. But also going back
Might
to...
I argue that that's just sage wisdom that's been around since the start of nachos.
But Jack Black gets the credit.
That's true. That's a good point.
He gets the credit.
Fine.
But it also has a hilarious take, going back to Common Sense Media. What parents need to know about Saving Silverman. Parents need to know that this is a PG-13 movie that could easily have qualified for an R. And in fact, an R-rated version was also released on DVD. And they should be very cautious about evaluating its appropriateness for teenagers. The movie has very strong language and jokes about oral sex, masturbation, and homosexuality. A butt cheek implant operation is shown in brief but gross detail. Drinking too much beer is portrayed as humorous bonding experience. The movie includes comic kidnapping and comic fatalities. A woman uses sex to control a man. A dumb comedy, but older teens may laugh. Wow. I was like, that's a perfect review. I love it.
That actually, yeah, I actually happen to agree with most of it. Like, I remember watching this when I was a sophomore in high school, and everybody was like, "Oh, this movie's really funny," and I was the only person who hadn't seen it. And they put it on, and I remember thinking, "What the hell is wrong with everybody?" Like, it's really disturbing. Like,
there's a lot of movies on this list that I think are only, probably maybe Mitch, you can speak to this too, are only there because they hit at the right time in your life.
Oh,
you watch them at a certain age and they get stuck in your mind, and that's pretty much why they become funny to you and not to others.
I mean, it's just kind of an amazing movie to watch. Of like, what were they thinking? How did they actually get this made? Like, nobody at any point was like, faking your friend's girlfriend's death is not where you need to be mining laughter. Like, that nobody ever put the brakes on. It's just amazing. It went through and actually got to the screen.
And a fun fact is, this is going Identity Thief and this both star Amanda Peet. So that's the only one on my list where the actor appears in both. She is obviously the fiance in Saving Silverman, but she's also Jason Bateman's wife in the Identity Thief. So I was trying to figure out if I had any other overlap, and that was the only one.
Now, I'm curious, when he thinks he's lost his... Because I think I've seen parts of this on cable. I haven't seen the whole thing. When he thinks he's lost his fiance... Is there like at least a montage of him grieving, or is he just like...
Oh, he goes into full mourning and builds a shrine.
Oh, he does. Okay, good.
And I believe...
It's very dark.
It's very dark. And I do believe that Steve Zahn's ploy, his entire speech to get him out of the shrine room to go on a date with this woman, is he repeats the word "come on" about 50 times. He's like, I set up a date. I set up different. No, come on. In that Steve Zahn way.
Yeah.
And I laugh every time. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen, but it works for me.
I think the only person to be able to pull that off better would be Christopher Walken. If he just said that 50 times in a row. Come on.
Certain performers, you can just give a word and just repeat it, and it'll tickle my funny bone.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. So, Brian, I think this is one of the classic bad movies. It's just so bizarre and strange and dark, but when you've got Steve Zahn and Jack Black are pretty much watchable in anything. And then Mitch, I was pretty compelled with your pick of that awkward moment, but you veered outside your lane a little bit. It's a 22%, so I got to penalize you. So Brian, that's 3 points for you, 2 points for Mitch.
Hey, I will take that, with the deduction. So
all right. Well, I hope you've learned your lesson.
Sorry, master.
Brian, let's check in with your number 3, please.
My number 3 comes in at 11% from the critics, 69% from the audience for a disparity. This is 1998's A Night at the Roxbury. So this is obviously the Chris Kattan, Will Ferrell SNL vehicle. I've been having fun going through the IMDb pages on this. This was directed by John Fortenberry, who I know is not a household name, but after this movie, he went on to a hell of a TV directing career. Several episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond, Rescue Me, Arrested Development, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, including some of the more risque episodes, I believe, from season 1, which is Charlie gets molested and Charlie wants an abortion. So talk about a swift detour there. Yeah. But I think it's also one of our favorite, my favorite Arrested Development episodes for British eyes only. So that's a
great one. That is a classic. Is a great
one. Movie did not do well at the box office. But the reason why I have this on my list, I think it's one of the more memorable of the SNL films of that era. Even though it's not necessarily probably the best one, it's definitely not Wayne's World caliber, obviously, from the 90s there. But this is definitely memorable as one of the more popular characters. And it's also a movie that I quote regularly. I think every time I've come across Emilio Estevez, I always say, the Mighty Duck Man, I swear to God. It is just part of my lexicon now.
Are there any other quotes from the film, or is that the only one?
That's one of my more favorite ones, or anytime they talk about Richard Grieco, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
One of the best reviews I found was from Lisa Schwarzbaum at Entertainment Weekly. On the Hamburger Helper continuum of high-fat content feature-length comedies extended from Saturday Night Live sketches, A Night at the Roxbury hovers around the Stewart saves his family mark, not as grisly as It's Pat, but not as lean as Wayne's World either. Which I thought was pretty great. But even more so, circling back to Common Sense Media, what parents need to know about A Night at the Roxbury is that, as with most broad comedies, there are close-ups of cleavage and sex jokes in several scenes. It's not the base potty humor.
Sorry.
It's not the base potty humor of similar comedies, but it's dumbed-down comedy that's a better fit for teens than tweens. Not worth seeing unless you're a huge Will Ferrell fan.
Interesting. Okay.
I have a favorite review of this one. Basically, a longer version of its poster.
Yes, 100%.
So
where does it fall in the pantheon of SNL sketches that got turned into movies? It definitely isn't the bottom. Like, there's certainly have been worse ones.
No,
for sure.
I mean, Stewart saves his family, and It's Pat. Or I think It's Pat may have a 0%. I'm not sure.
It's Pat was bad. I mean, I was not a Coneheads fan.
Me neither.
Yeah, I think this is, at least the characters here are, I mean, everybody knows the dance, you know, there's,
and that's just,
more from the skit, but
yeah, it's pretty much just a morphing of that, but it was more of a, let's give Chris Kattan a movie vehicle, I think. And then let's try and get Will Ferrell on the screen, because this is like the turn, 1998. He left SNL in 2001, I believe. So this is probably peak Will Ferrell popularity, and probably just before we start getting our Anchormans and stuff like that. So this was probably our first vehicle to get him on the silver screen.
Now, this movie, is it like, do they get wrapped up like in a drug conspiracy somehow, or like you know, what's the
the entire plot of the movie is they need to get into a club that they can't get into. Because the late Michael Clark Duncan is the bouncer who won't let them in, either because they don't have attractive ladies on their arm, or they're not cool enough.
Sure.
But they get rear-ended by 21 Jump Street star Richard Grieco one night, who is a frequenter of the Roxbury, who allows them to go in for the night, where they cross paths with the club's owner, and insanity ensues. But then the entire plot becomes, we have an idea for a club that we want to make ourselves so we can get in.
So it's like so it's like an entrepreneurship movie, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a real rags to riches entrepreneurship, pick yourself up by your bootstraps type movie.
Now, when
how early in the film does he let them into the club?
I would say this is probably the beginning of the second act. So that is the point. There's
the problem is, if you were pitching it to me, these characters of they just spend the entire movie trying to get into the club.
Yeah.
And like, that's the end goal. I actually think that's a pretty workable premise. But once you give them what they want that early, then where are you going to go?
Very true. Well, it's like we got to give them love interests now. And they just basically portray these two women as soul-sucking gold diggers We're like, oh, they're rich. They're talking to the guy who owns the club. They must have money. And then the second they find out they don't have money, they dump them. And that happens midway through the second act. And you're just like, oh, come on. Can we do a little bit better than this, please?
Oh, my.
I have to say, male writers from like 90, well, just forever until like 2005 were very creative with their female characters, I have to say.
Yes.
So, well, now, okay, when this came out, why did you like what was it about it? Was it you just loved the dance? Like, it just reminded you
I don't think
of good memories of enjoying SNL? Like, why is this
so
like, and have you watched it recently? Does it hold up?
Well, I own it on iTunes, so I watched it last week.
Oh, okay.
And I believe I paid at least $12 for it. So I definitely
holy shit.
overpaid.
I'm sorry to swear, but that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I definitely overpaid. I don't think I saw it in 19. I was only 8 years old, so I don't think I would have seen this until it came out on TV or video. So I probably wouldn't have seen this for 2 or 3 years past. So then I would have been an early teenager and been like, oh, Will Ferrell's like this guy now. I like all these movies. Let's watch this thing. Like, oh, it's so funny. I'm 13. This is hilarious.
Okay.
And I think that's why if I saw it when I was 8, I don't think I would have this same reaction. But because I saw it as an early teen, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is so original and funny.
Okay. And so last week's viewing, are you still holding that idea?
I think I laugh because of nostalgia. I think that's what it is. Okay. Nostalgia.
Is there a laugh track in the movie?
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
It probably would help. But there's I mean, there's nothing more crucial than watching the, if you've ever watched Big Bang Theory clips where they've stricken out the laugh track.
Oh yeah.
If there's any sitcom, it's just horrifying to watch. And it's just,
that's what a lot of the SNL skits that became movies felt like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and then you think if there's that much time where they're just standing there waiting for the laugh, that must be easy for the writers. That's like a third less writing you have to do.
That's true. I mean, there is a lot of time you have to factor in there for the laughs.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, and when you're instructing the audience to laugh or pre-record it, you don't have to go to the trouble of being funny, which the Big Bang Theory also proved.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And also from just I don't know, just from a logistical standpoint, I mean, if you got to write 24 to 26 of these things a season, it's probably good to leave in some time for laughs so you can catch up and save your jokes for the next episode.
Yeah.
Mitch.
Yeah.
You're up, sir. You're number 3.
Oh, my number 3, of course. Yes. Okay. So this one actually comes from another SNL alum. This is not an SNL movie, though. I want to say that off the top. It's Dirty Work. Who you guys ever seen Dirty Work? Starring Norm Macdonald.
Oh my God.
I feel like I've always been aware of this movie.
Sure.
And I've heard tons of people talk about it and quote it. And I think I've probably been in the room when it's on, but I don't remember ever sitting down and watching it the whole way through.
Okay. Well, yeah. And this is another short one. I think it's like an hour, 20 something. But sometimes it can feel like, because normally I'll put it on when it's after midnight, been having a nice night, feeling a little toasty, I'm like, ooh, let's watch a little Dirty Work, and I'll throw it on, and then it feels like it's 2 hours because like time moves slower when it's that time of night and you're drunk. But this one's got 17% Rotten Tomato score, and it is full. You have to love Norm Macdonald. If you don't like Norm Macdonald, you will absolutely hate this movie. So if you cannot appreciate his dry humor, then this won't work probably on any level, because it's how he says his words. It's hookers, it's midgets, it's dead hookers, and just very, very dry. Chevy Chase makes an appearance as the addicted to gambling doctor with a violent bookie, and he's got extra hospital beds to sell. Very fun character. They just kind of like check in with him, and he's taking care of his dad, or his friend's dad, I should say, Artie Lang's father, played by Jack Warden. Classic. And Jack Warden is just a horny old man that always asks why they didn't bring him whores when they come to see him. It's a crude movie. It's quite crude. I have to say that. Chris Farley also is in it. And I know this, like, all this sounds horrible. And the last time I watched it, which was probably 5 years ago, it was at night, I turned it off. So like, I don't think it holds up, but in my past, I thought this horrible, filthy humor was so great. And Chris Farley especially has a prosthetic, so it looks like the end of his nose is gone. And he hates being asked about it. So whenever they're in the bar, he's like this sweaty drunk at the bar by himself. And they're like, hey, Jimmy, what happened to the end of your nose? And he boils over and freaks out. And you find out it was bit off by a Saigon whore. Again, whore and hookers are their favorite words in this movie. And also there's an idea in this movie too. Norm Macdonald has a love interest. And at one point she refers to him as sexy, which is just so off-putting to me. And like, it's like really, you have to suspend disbelief. Norm Macdonald did write it, so I'm assuming he had control over a lot of things. So he could, tell an actress like, say that I'm sexy in this scene. And she had to follow orders. But I'll do one more. There's a great bit that he does, which is very fun. And actually, it's a good way to meet people if you've got a little confidence at a party. You just yell out any name. So I'd be like, hey, Eric. And then Brian would be like, what? I'm Brian. And then he'd be like, oh, I didn't know your name. I was just guessing. And then they're like, oh, and then you say hello. That's how he meets his love interest in the movie. He sees her, thinks she's cute, and just yells out a name and then meets her. So
classic.
I think that's a good practical piece of advice that could potentially only 30% of the time be a complete disaster. The other 70%, it could be a lot of fun. Yeah.
And like you can kind of play with, like, do you give a name that makes them seem cooler, or do you give a name that like what do I really look like in Ernest? Like, fuck you, you're like, I don't know, I was just guessing, but
hey, Archibald.
And if I heard that, I'd be spinning around thinking, is there an Archibald around here? What does an Archibald look like as well? So, so maybe this movie doesn't hold up. I'm wanting to put it in the same category as Grandma's Boy, which Brian and I recently rewatched together, and that definitely didn't hold up at all.
No.
But I have a deeper love for Norm Macdonald because my dad really likes Norm Macdonald, and so it's like it's a passed down generational thing. So I left it on the list. But so there's Dirty Work. It's short. If you can probably fast forward to the gags, and that would work too. So that's my number 3.
All right. Yeah. Well, that was I mean, Norm Macdonald, Artie Lang, Don Rickles makes an appearance. It's a lot of heavy hitters. Yeah. And I remember hearing about it so much and everybody watched it. So I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt on this one, that maybe it does have some entertainment value more so than the rating here. Obviously, you have to take all these 90s raunch comedies with a grain of salt nowadays. Yeah. And then Brian, I am just touched beyond words that you committed so much to buying this movie on iTunes. And admitting that to us here today, I think took a lot of strength. So I'm giving 2 points to each of you for this round.
Oh, thank you very much.
Appreciated.
Kind of you.
And so that means we are on to number 2. Mitch, please reveal your number 2.
My number 2 is I recently watched this one. I caught it on cable, and one of those movies, whenever it's on cable and I turn to it, I can't turn it off, and I have to like get up and go, okay, Mitch, you are done watching, walk away. And that is Bad Boys 2. Oh, what? Oh, and then in comes Murphy Lee's Shake Your Tail Feather, which was, I think, made for this movie. It like was on the exclusive soundtrack. Very hot track. It's great. I'm gonna read out my my list of just thoughts on the movie. What is this?
Before you do that,
what?
I have to express.
What? What is it?
My complete contempt I'm feeling for you right now.
What?
For your lack of regard for the rules and structure.
What?
And just a spirit of fair play. This is a 23% Rotten Tomatoes score. You have once again, I let you back into my good books, and you have once again crossed the line. You tested my patience. You got your work cut out for you here, sir. If you even want 1 point here, you better wow me. Start now.
Oh my. Okay. All right. Will, Martin, Gabrielle, Joey Pants. Again, Murphy Lee's Shake Your Tail Feather. Highway explosions. Throwing cars. white suits, rats copulating just like us, an ecstasy trip, hot corpses, Mike Lowry affording a Ferrari on a cop salary, Mike Lowry affording custom suits on a cop salary, Marcus Burnett affording oceanside real estate on a cop salary, a yellow Hummer drives through an entire slum in, is it Costa Rica or Dominican Republic or Cuba? I can't remember. And it's 2 hours and 27 minutes. This is the length of like a heritage Oscar war film, but it's goddamn Bad Boys 2. And who does it but Michael Bay? He puts himself in the movie, and he puts a Dan Marino, Miami Dolphins legend Hall of Famer, as a cameo as well. So there it is. There's my Bad Boys 2 rundown. And again, I watched this movie at least 9 times during junior year of college with my buddy Michael. We split a pizza and Budweiser over this film. I've bought it 3 times on DVD. This is, I don't care if it's 23%. This one deserves a place because people don't respect it enough. Thank you very much. I've dropped my mic.
I have 2 questions.
Bring them.
First one, did you say hot corpses?
Yes, there's a scene where they're hiding on top of corpses in a morgue, and one of the corpse is a woman with very bountiful breasts, and Martin Lawrence, he does the like wide eye ogling thing, and then Will Smith is like, Marcus, come on, what, Marcus, stop it. And so, yeah, it's a weird joke. It's a weird joke.
A little necrophilia thrown in.
Yeah, yeah.
Along with everything else. Well, that's why you have to have 2 hours and 27 minutes. You got to squeeze in the necrophilia. You got to have room for all of this stuff.
Exactly. Also, I forgot to mention the bad guys. They got great actors for the bad guys. Peter Stormare plays a scary ecstasy dealer who also owns a club. And then Carlos Moya, I believe his name is. If that's he plays Johnny Tapia, the bad guy. He's got these steely blue eyes, and he's just like always like a little sweaty, and he's got long stringy hair. He's great. Talks like that. Those great bad guys. So
also Chicago's very own Michael Shannon.
Yes, see, there are so many parts of this movie that you forget about. They're in Miami, they're in the swamps, they're down in Cuba, they're all over the place. And he yells, "I've got my rights," before someone stuffs him in a trunk. He's playing a white supremacist. So
I'm also seeing NBA champion John Sally makes an appearance. Is that right?
Oh yes. I think he's I think he's a cop. He's one of the good cops that like walks by and makes fun of them, I think, in the precinct is what that is. So
is this the best Dan Marino film, or is it Ace Ventura: Pet Detective?
Oh my God, this is a way better Dan Marino film. Yeah. And it's a great scene because Dan Marino's just taking it for a test drive, and Will Smith commandeers the car. And he's like, "Oh no, Dan, you should buy this car. Not this one, because I'm going to fuck this one up. But definitely buy this Cadillac." So.
All right. Well, you've made a compelling case. I'm going to see what Brian has to say here. Brian, Let's hear your number 2.
All right. My number 2 is 1997's Vegas Vacation. National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation at 13% here.
What? I had no. Oh my gosh. I'm shocked by that.
I'm very surprised that we don't have an Uber stare down here because, 13% for Vegas Vacation, 51% from the audience. So I'm going to take a little detour here because I found something very, very interesting. So this is directed by a man named Steven Kessler, who only has one other feature narrative credit to his name on IMDb, which is The Independent, which is starring Jerry Stiller and Janine Garofalo, which we have to see after I've watched this trailer. This movie has a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Jerry Stiller plays a B-movie director looking to make a comeback, but the trailer starts with this classic Jerry Stiller bit.
I said I wanted a stampede of buffalo. This does not look like a stampede, Ivan. Oh, run. Look, here come the 2 buffalo.
These are the only 2 buffalo within 100 miles of here, Mom.
I don't want to hear from 100 miles, Ivan. If you have to airlift them in, I want those buffalo. I want the buffalo. I want them here.
He just keeps ranting about buffalo he needs in this wide shot of this Western that they're shooting. But whatever that is, that's adding to our list. We have to watch this movie together.
That sounds incredible. I am in.
So back to Vegas Vacation. So the reason I have this on the list is I grew up in a very pro Griswold household. That Christmas Vacation became a more meaningful tradition than the manger every Christmas. Thanksgiving. Here. Thanksgiving to Christmas, you got. Thanksgiving to New Year's, you have Christmas Vacation on at least once a week. So it's only fitting that this follow-up that came out 8 years after that would make my cut. This one's nowhere near as good as Christmas Vacation, but I find it equally enjoyable because Vegas is probably the perfect place to drop Clark Griswold because he's a man who he can't contain himself. But the main reason I have this on the list is who didn't want to be Nick Papagiorgio when you watch this movie? He's like, that
is one of the truest things you've ever said. And I don't remember that actor's name, but he has just the most innocent face too.
Yeah.
Man, I think he was my favorite Rusty out of all the Rusties.
I agree. Although I didn't mind Johnny Galecki in Christmas Vacation, but this was definitely the best of age, probably closest to us when we saw the movie.
Yeah.
Rusty. And he's an underage kid in Vegas who gets to gamble, have a completely fake persona, go to parties, get massages, and win 4 cars on 4 different slot machines.
Yeah.
Plus, I think this Vegas has some of this vacation movie has some of the best Cousin Eddie scenes out of all of the National Lampoon Vacation movies, especially the quote where he's sitting across from Wayne Newton and he says, "You got a bodyguard? I'd die for you." But no,
I think that this movie got overshadowed a little bit at the time because this is not the best comedy that took place in Vegas released in 1997. That was Austin Powers.
That's true.
But they were, they kind of had the same look. I mean, they were made at the same time, but they were spending it kind of the same casino feel or whatever. And Austin Powers was just more of, it was just funnier and more popular.
I mean, at that time, you got Vacation. This is the last Vacation movie. It's the, starring the original cast. We won't even mention that Ed Helms disaster, but this one had a hilarious Common Sense Media parents warning on it for Vegas Vacation. Parents need to know that in its quest for humor and laughs, this film portrays everyone in the Griswold family as irresponsible, amoral, dishonest, and foolish. The Griswold teens either drink, cheat, steal, gamble, or lie throughout. The entire Las Vegas environment is seen as obsessively sensual, tawdry, and alcohol-infused. In fact, many of the leading characters are seen continuously holding or drinking alcoholic beverages. In addition, the film functions as a lengthy commercial for cities, hotels, and hotspots, along with lots of other product placement. Language is relatively mild with some dams and hells, but in addition, the film teams with sexual innuendo, as well as much leering and ogling at scantily clad women. Yeah. Oh, you mean the film shot in Vegas isn't a commercial for hotels and the people in the movie are gambling and drinking? What? What?
Is the perfect Common Sense Media movie like just called Wednesday? And they're like, this movie's great. The father goes to work, earns a day's pay. The mother cleans the house, makes lunch, cleans up after breakfast, and prepares dinner. The children come home from school. They do their homework, and and they all sit as they do puzzles and read books, and then they go to sleep. And like,
based on a Jane Austen novel, we give this 130%.
We want fools in films. We don't want to be the fool. We want to watch fools. Correct. You know,
we need to live vicariously through the Griswolds.
Nathan, sorry, you go.
No, I was just gonna say I don't think Vegas Vacation is a great movie, but I'd say like it's at 13%. Like it's got to be. It's one of the most watchable 13%ers ever. Like if it was like come on in the like TNT or in the afternoon or whatever, like you can easily just like put it on and fall into it. That's a pretty big disparity. So
I mean, like just off the top, Wayne Newton making Helen a giant bowl of pasta. And then just like watching her eat it. Like, that's a great bit. Clark going to the alternative casino and just trying to guess what the dealer's thinking in his head. Just losing money after money.
Pick a number. War. Yeah. Guess which hand.
Yeah. It's like, those bits are great. And then the at the Hoover Dam, you know, another
classic scene.
Classic scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get that. But
well, I'm going to go ahead, and I think that's very indicative of just what we were looking for on this list. So Brian, you're getting 3 points on that round, and Mitch, for your flagrant disregard of the rules we set in place to just, you know, massage your own ego and tell fun stories about this awesome movie that you get to watch all the time with your buddies. 1 point.
Fuck your rules. I've got my memories. Thank you.
Oh, God.
I mean, I admit Bad Boys 2 is a fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
For maybe not for the whole 2.5 hours, but you know, that's why it got over 20%.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. So that is going to take us into number 1. Brian, your number 1, please.
My number 1, I believe, is going to be a controversial pick because this is a very much hated film, coming in at 7% on the tomato meter with 29% from audiences. This is 2004's Surviving Christmas, starring Ben Affleck, James Gandolfini, and Catherine O'Hara. So this is directed by Mike Mitchell, who went on to have pretty much an animated sequel career with Shrek Forever After, Alvin and the Chipmunks Chipwrecked, Trolls, and the Lego Movie 2, the second part. This is a Ben Affleck starring movie that grossed only $11 million at the box office. And the reason why I have this on my list is I'm a sucker for Catherine O'Hara. I also love Ben Affleck's over-the-top performance with his high-pitched voice throughout this movie. And then you get a grumpy Gandolfini throughout the entire movie, which is great. His main thing that he gets pissed off about is people eating his salami that he bought for himself that's in the fridge. That's what sets him off all the time. I wish I could mute you. I wish we were in person so I could mute you right now. So this is one of those movies that hit at the right age because I was 14 when it came out in theaters. I did not see it in the theaters. So it's 15 when it came out on cable. And I just remember me and my dad watching this and then just enjoying the hell out of it. For whatever reason, it just hit at the right point. At the right point. Christina Applegate is the love interest in here. She is the plot of this film is Ben Affleck is a commercial marketing guy where at the beginning of the movie, he is pitching a pre-spiked eggnog that needs to be sold in stores because it gets you drunker faster. And then his girlfriend decides to leave him because he is not mature enough and not willing to settle down. So he decides to go back to his family home and set fire a list of grievances that he wrote on a notebook. And then James Gandolfini comes out, smacks him with a shovel because he thinks he's trying to burn the house down. And in retaliation, Ben Affleck decides he's going to give him $200,000 to let him stay there for the season. That is the plot of this film.
Oh, I assumed James Gandolfini was his dad.
No. So Ben Affleck,
he pays him to act like his dad.
Correct. So he was like, I'm trying to recapture this therapy that he's going through. He's like, I need to recapture my childhood in this house. He's like, I will pay you $200,000 to let me stay here and act as my family for Christmas. So it's James Gandolfini and Catherine O'Hara, and they have one son that lives in the house. And he's trying to remember his grandfather as well, but they're like, we don't have a grandfather. He's like, well, we're going to hire a grandfather and we're going to call him Doodah. So they hire a grandpa. And then finally, Christina Applegate, who is the older daughter who's moved out of the house, comes back for Christmas, not knowing about this plan. And she's basically looking at everybody like, are you guys fucking crazy? Like, why are you doing this? This is dumb.
As if her parents wouldn't immediately call her and be like, hey, by the way, we've got a complete stranger who's paid to live in the house for Christmas.
So I take
this is pre-Airbnb too. It's not like they're renting out a room. This is
So I take back what I said about Saving Silverman being the weirdest plot. This is definitely the weirdest plot on my list.
This is the most depressing premise for a holiday movie I've ever heard.
It's not great, but I did have it on my list again because that is my favorite nickname for a grandpa I've heard in a movie is Doodah. I do like that. It's like Peepaw or something like that. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I love the. I've always called my grandpa just grandpa, but I love finding out like those weird names that people have for their grandparents, like especially if I know their grandparents outside of them, like I knew like they were a teacher or something, like somebody I really respected. They were a war hero. They'd done all these cool things, had these life experiences, and a toddler like accidentally says something like peepaw or poop head or something, and like that's just what grandpa's gonna be called for the rest of time.
It just stuck. So I will openly admit this is not a good film, but again, it's one of those movies that hit at the right time. It had some of my favorite reviews that I've done during the research process for this, one of which said, tasteless, miserable, and utterly flaccid. Surviving Christmas truly lives up to its reputation as the last turkey in the shop.
Wow.
In 2003, moviegoers received a gift in the form of Bad Santa. The following year, they got a lump of coal in the shape of this bad movie.
I'm also noticing, comparing the font of the titles on the posters, Saving Silverman in this one has basically the same kind of font, but this one's got like a Christmas serif to the font, which also, if you look at a lot of big budget, normally not great popcorn comedies have very similar fat red fonts to on their posters.
It is
just check it out.
The fat red font effect is in full effect here.
Yeah,
I can't believe I got that out without tongue tied. My other favorite review is the moral is that money can indeed buy happiness. It's 100% true.
Well, so maybe it's the most truthful Christmas film ever.
It might be, but
also, why does Ben Affleck have a high voice in the film?
No, it's just he screams a lot. So he's like, what do you mean you can't let me hear? It's like he's like Charlie Days it a lot, and it's just very, very weird.
Okay.
But like seeing Ben Affleck in a weird bad comedy is kind of fun, especially when this is like just because he goes from like this like very quickly like into Argo. And you're like, what happened in life here? But,
I think he figured out he can't do comedies. I think is what he figured out.
Yeah.
Seeing Gandolfini lower himself to such things is a bizarre sight as well.
I mean, Catherine O'Hara too. I mean, it just is so sad to see like all of these pretty decent people in a not great movie.
They love money.
They do. They
love money.
And I couldn't leave without giving you the Common Sense Media parental warning on this film. Parents need to know that this movie includes jokes about incest, pornography, and marijuana. Characters drink and smoke and use some strong language. There's comic peril and violence, including smacking someone with a shovel. The happy families Drew sees on Christmas include a gay couple, but this is intended to be humorous, not inclusive. You'll be lucky to survive this dumb movie.
Wow. Scathing review from Common Sense Media. Wow.
Oh, that is brutal.
Nathan, I'm guessing you've never seen this?
I have not. No. I'm a festive holiday loving guy, but this one just hasn't nudged Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas out of the rotation yet.
I haven't seen it yet either. At first when you said this, in my brain I had the poster and the fat red font of Four Christmases in my brain, and I pulled it up and was like, oh wait, no, that's right, it's something. It was a little different. But
was Four Christmases the Tim Allen vehicle?
No.
It was the Vince Vaughn, Reese Witherspoon vehicle. So
which is directed by Seth Gordon, who also directed Identity Thief.
You guys remember Fred Claus, that other Vince Vaughn holiday classic?
Oh yeah, baby, that one was bad. Whew.
There's a lot of bad holiday movies.
I might have put this on this list. I kind of enjoy Fred Claus because it's so bad.
we could have just done a
Christmas.
We can save it till December and do a Christmas edition.
We will do a Christmas edition for sure.
I actually worked. I worked the Chicago premiere of Fred Claus that Vince Vaughn was at, and it was a very strange party. He cordoned himself off in a roped off area at Navy Pier Crystal Gardens and pointed at people who he wanted to have in his roped off area, hot women. And then and like that was and then everyone else was just kind of like like, you know, enjoyed themselves and drank and ate, but just kind of like watched him do this. It was very strange. It was very odd.
That is odd.
But the movie, forgettable, you know. But so and now it's time for my number one, right? Should we jump
lay
in? Okay,
lay it on us.
You guys both know what this is, right? Say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Cocktail.
Yes, everyone knew this was coming. And for this pod, I put on one of my favorite teas. Hello. Hi there. Hi, go see my movies. Yeah. That wasn't a great Tom Cruise impression, but yeah, of course, cocktail. Everyone here on the pod knows. I've gathered you to watch this on my birthday a number of times.
I've seen you reenact it as a one-man show.
That's right.
Not rehearsed, just prompted, and you said, I can do this, and you did.
I totally forgot. Man, the power of malted hops, I tell you what, the energy behind it. And that brings me right to one of my favorite lines, stale beer out of rusty pipes. That's what he tells his uncle. He serves at his shitty Brooklyn or Queens bar in the first like 10 minutes of the movie. And God, this is like peak 80s Cruise. He's vain, but he doesn't know how to act cool. And it's always weird to me because I remember asking actually Brian, asking your dad about this, of like if they went and saw this when it came out. And he was like, yes, we did. It was like that was like a cool culture movie at the time. People in the 80s weren't like, this is so fucking strange, this movie. But it feels like a manic movie. Like it feels almost like you're going to different levels, very high and very low, back and forth. One of the biggest parts of the movie is it just cuts from a you know, a smoky New York City alley, you know, those classic shots in the 80s, right to the Bahamas. And there's just boom, there's just like time cut, everything. It's like two movies split into two. Brian, you were going to say something. I'll let you jump in.
Can you give the folks the one sentence plot? We've discussed this several times of what this movie is about. What is Brian Flanagan's only goal in this movie?
Brian Flanagan wants $1 million, but he's not educated enough and he's too dumb to get a normal job.
Yes.
So he finds his way into a bar and becomes a bartender. And I guess uses his cute face and his loose hips and to become a favorite in both New York City and Jamaica.
Oh my God.
And
it might
he's
the
last barman poet, isn't that?
Yes.
That scene?
That is absolutely true. And I wish I memorized his speech for that.
Damn. I was going to ask
because I would say it now. But one of my favorite scenes is actually from that portion of the movie. He's working at a giant New York City bar called the Cell Block, and him and his bartender friend Douglas Coughlin are dressed in prisoner shirts. That's like their uniform at the bar, and his love interest, played by Gina Gershon, who is a photographer, who comes from money. She's just a little rich girl, which they just hate that she has money. It's very strange. There's a lot of weird hate that goes on.
Even though that's all they want is to have money.
Exactly. They're like, all they want is the best yuppie, but they hate all the best yuppies before they get to be the best yuppie. And she asked for a drink, and he says, "How about an orgasm?" Because, you know, that's a classic 80s cocktail. And he's like, "How many do you want?" And she's like, "Multiple." And he's like, "Oh yeah." And then and it continues on. But I wrote this down here. The Australian Douglas Coughlin is the old bartender who kind of teaches him the ways. And I was thinking about it, like, who does he remind me of? And I don't know if this is correct, but I wrote this down. It's as if Tom Hanks and Mel Gibson had a son, and he got Tom's hair, hips, and shoulders from the film Bachelor Party, and the rest from Mel Gibson. So, you know, pretty boring to watch on screen, and you know, you're worried about what's going on inside his head. And
it's a huge relief when he kills himself.
I shouldn't have laughed. But yeah,
it's a horrible part of the movie.
It's so out of left field. Like, you don't think you're watching a movie that's going to have one of the main characters commit suicide, and then he does, and you're just, oh,
Yep.
Okay,
Where
I
did
guess.
And they,
Like, I've only seen this movie a couple of times, but I remember like none of it makes any sense. It's a complete mismatch of styles, but it's memorable. Like I remember every single part of it because it's just each part is just like, wait, what? That was next? No, it's
And it's based on a book, right? The same writer wrote the screenplay.
correct. Yes. Roger Donaldson, is that the guy that wrote the book?
No.
he directed it. Haywood Gold.
Haywood Gold.
wrote
Yes.
Because I can't never. That name's great.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great name. I wanted to mention too, the weapon or quote unquote weapon he uses to kill himself is the bottle of like Louis the 13th cognac that Brian brings as a gift because it's a bet he made because Doug said, you'll be working for me in under a year. So he brings them this bottle is like, yep, you're right. Here I am asking for a job. They have some and Brian leaves and then he breaks the bottle and cuts his own throat with the bottle, which is that's horrible. Like why? It just get an exact tool at least. I don't know. Maybe that's too dark.
But then the movie has a happy ending.
It does. Yeah. It's just like an inexplicable happy ending. Him and Elizabeth Shue get together and they have kids and it's twins. So
And you just, you know, they're going to have a wonderful, fulfilling life with those two parents.
Yeah.
It's such an undeserved happy ending. Like
it absolutely is. And also after they first meet, I'm looking at my notes here. They have the most like just utterly grotesque, like gratuitous waterfall makeout scene where like you can tell in the filming she feels uncomfortable. But Tom is just going for it. And like you can also tell he uses a lot of tongue in this movie when he's kissing, which is just gross.
Yeah,
you're like, Tom, be a professional. What are you doing? And then they ride horses on the beach. So it's this fairy tale thing. And then a scene later, he throws it all away for a $50 bet from a drunk at the bar who's like, I bet you can't bed that old woman down the, quote unquote, old woman. Yeah, even though she was
28.
Yeah. And he throws it all away for $50, and she says that to him, and the reasoning for throwing it all away is when a guy lays down a bet, you gotta take it. It's unconscionable, Tom. Unconscionable.
The thing I found absolutely unbelievable out of all the things that don't make any sense in this movie is actually when he does the barman poet thing. It's like, I've been to bars. Nobody is ever going to shut up and listen to the bartender do that stupid little poem. Like that, you could hear a pin drop in that enormous club with hundreds of people. That would never happen under any circumstances.
No.
Never. Absolutely not.
Not
never.
even if there was an emergency.
No.
It would not happen.
Never.
No, absolutely not. So this movie is, you got to relish Tom Cruise's like insane 80s energy.
Yeah.
And I myself, was an ironic Tom Cruise quote unquote fan at first, but I have kind of become one now. And this movie this is definitely so bad it's good. There's a lot of like, there's some Tom Cruise does some like drunk singing in it as well. That's very strange.
My parents had the best-selling soundtrack that this had a very iconic 80s soundtrack. We had the tape, so I listened to the soundtrack of this in the car a lot. There's like, you got Robert Palmer's Addicted to Love, I think. All kinds of 80s classics.
The Kokomo's in there. Yeah, there were some people online that said this is just an excuse for Roger Donaldson to like film in Jamaica and have his favorite rock songs play on a movie. So
pretty much.
And that's so and there's some insane gratuitous butt shots in this where a scene starts and a woman is like climbing down a ladder on a yacht and you just see her butt takes up like 7/8 of the frame just for no reason. Like they didn't need to do that. So yeah, that's my number one.
All right. Well, it is one of the most ridiculous movies ever made. The quintessential bad movie that's fun to watch, I think. Yeah. So you're gonna take 3 points for this round.
Thank you,
Brian. I'm looking forward to watching this with you next Christmas. As we come out of the pandemic, we can drink some eggnog and watch this movie together, the three of us. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to give you 2 points, and that rounds out the final score. Mitch Brinkman 9, Brian Ernst 10.
Because I follow the rules.
Oh man.
It's really amazing what a little self-discipline will do for you. Isn't it, Brian?
I just need to say something quick about eggnog. So
Please.
The fact that he's pitching an alcoholic eggnog that's pre-alcoholed, that's what eggnog is. Eggnog has alcohol. Eggnog you buy that doesn't have alcohol in it, that's not eggnog. That's an egg drink, okay? I just want to put that out there as someone who is an eggnog aficionado and makes it themselves every Christmas and puts more than enough rum and brandy in it. All eggnog should have alcohol in it. You should not be drinking non-alcoholic eggnog. Just drink something that's healthier. You'll thank me later. That's it. Thank you. Sorry.
I actually can't drink eggnog because when I was a kid, I went to pour myself some of the non-alcoholic eggnog we had, but it had gone bad. And I did not realize that until I actually took a sip. And it was just the most vile, awful thing. So I can't even, the taste of eggnog now will just make me lose it.
Now, Nathan, the eggnog I make tastes nothing like store-bought eggnog. So this Christmas, I'm going to make a damn good batch, and I just want you to have a little sip just to try, and we'll see where we're at, okay? I'll put it out there.
I'll try, and I'll bring some extra towels from home. Really clean up. But when a man lays down a bet, you got to follow through.
You got to take it.
All right. Well, that is just about the end of the show, but I am going to give you my Fast Five now. That was the top 5 cars of all time. Ready, guys?
Ready.
Number 5, greatest car of all time. James Bond's Aston Martin DB5 from Goldfinger. The most classic of all the James Bond cars, sets the precedent of having completely impractical gadgets that would just so happen to work once for a very, very, very specific situation that occurs in that movie and then never again for the rest of the series. Number 4, Power Wheels. Pow, pow, Power Wheels. Pow, pow, power makes them go. So at least I assumed that this was a great car, but I didn't know because I wanted one more than anything when I was a kid, and I asked for one for Christmases and birthdays and I never got one. And then I got a bike, and I would ride my bike up and down the driveway pretending it was a Power Wheels. I didn't have the wherewithal to realize that I was going faster and having more fun on my bike than I would have in a Power Wheels. But my parents did eventually get me an actual car, so I guess I'll give them a pass. Yeah. Number 3, greatest cars of all time is Cars, 2006 Pixar film. Oh. So I've never seen this, but it was the last performance of Paul Newman, screen legend. And it also has one of the greatest stand-up comedians and one of the worst stand-up comedians, George Carlin and Larry the Cable Guy. I'll let you decide for yourself which one is which.
I think we all know.
Wait, who's George Carlin? No, I'm kidding.
He was from Shining Time Station.
Oh yes, okay, all right.
Number 2, Rick Ocasek, lead singer and songwriter of The Cars, 70s band.
Great band.
I listened to the best of playlist this morning. I made it through 3 whole songs before I turned it off. So Rick Ocasek, R.I.P., passed away last 2019.
Also, I just wanted to say to the listeners, Ryan, I almost called you Ryan. Nathan only owns best of albums. I just want to put that out there. Okay, go.
Number 1, the greatest car of all time, the 2010 Toyota Camry. Functional mid-sized sedan that seats 5, scored moderately well on safety ratings and in Consumer Reports. Sure, it might not have all the bells and whistles of the cars your friends got, but you shouldn't be scrolling through your Spotify playlist while you're driving anyway. And I had to learn to parallel park without a camera, so you can too. This will get you and your prom date, or you and your date to prom safely with good gas mileage. And Toyota just lasts forever. So if you get that summer job down at the Tasty Freeze I told you about, maybe you can save up and trade this in for something nicer with your own money.
like a RAV4.
Also, I do actually drive a 2010 Toyota Camry. So there you go.
Also, it rides 5 in the main cabin, but you can put 2 or 3 in the trunk. So.
Well, that is it, guys.
The best transition.
It just reminded me of something I got to take care of after we're done recording this.
Hey-o.
Hey.
Okay, well, that is this week's edition of Uber Cinco. Joining me from Berwyn, Illinois has been
Brian Ernst.
And from here in Chicago,
Mitch Brinkman.
And I have been Nathan Hennenfent. And as Bisbear always says, I'll see you again when the river meets the sea. Auf Wiedersehen and adios.
You've just listened to Über Cinco, a production of UBK Studios. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your fine podcasts from.
If you like what you hear and want to support the show, please visit our Patreon site at patreon.com/UBK Studios. Every little bit helps us keep the lights on and the bill collectors at bay.
Keep tabs on us on all the social media at UBK Studios, and most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see that we really are just a bunch of good Midwestern boys.